My grandmother canned chicken in 1943, lasted 28 years and was still safe to eat. That is not a typo. 1943, the year the war was still going. The year my grandmother Pearl was raising 4 children on a farm in western Kentucky with electricity that came and went like the wind. She had no freezer, no supermarket within 30 miles, and a flock of laying hens that produced more eggs than her family could eat, which meant the rest went into the stew pot, which meant she had to figure out how to keep that chicken from spoiling through the winter. So she canned it, in glass jars, in a pressure canner, the way her mother taught her. And when she opened those jars in 1971, 28 years later, the chicken was still good. Not great, maybe. The texture had changed, sure, but it was safe, it was nourishing, and it had fed her family through 28 years of history. That story is why I still can chicken today. And in this video, I'm going to show you my grandmother Pearl's exact method, step by step. No shortcuts that will kill you. No modern tricks that weren't available in 1943. The real thing. Because I've been doing this for 30 years and I promise you it works. If you find this useful, go ahead and subscribe and drop a comment. I read every single one and I answer as many as I can. I want to know if you've ever tried pressure canning or if this is all new to you. Either way, you're in the right place. Now let's talk about why this matters in 2026. Grocery prices have gone completely insane. A rotisserie chicken at the store will run you $14, $15 now. And the boneless, skinless chicken breast in the packaging, the shrinkflated little tray that used to hold 2 pounds and now holds 1.5 pounds, that is running you $11 a pound. $11. For chicken that was worth maybe $2 at the farm. You can buy a whole chicken from a local farmer for $8 to $12. Feed it yourself, process it yourself, and you have meat for a week. And if you pressure can it right now while it's fresh, you have chicken in the pantry that will last you a year. Or 28 apparently. But let's not get too ambitious. A year is good. A year is plenty. The thing about pressure canning is that most people are scared of it. They hear the word pressure and they think explosion. They hear botulism and they think hospital. And the food industry has done nothing to educate people, because educated people don't keep buying overpriced, overprocessed canned goods that have been sitting on a shelf in some warehouse for God knows how long. I am going to teach you how to do this safely. I am going to teach you why pressure canning is different from water bath canning, which chicken you should use, what jars work best, and exactly how my grandmother did it so that 28 years later, her own granddaughter could still feed her family with it. Pay attention, this matters. Water bath canning is for foods that are high in acid. Jam, pickles, tomato sauce, salsa. The boiling water kills the organisms on the surface, and the acid in the food prevents them from coming back. That is why you can water bath jam in a big pot and be fine. Low acid foods, meat, vegetables, broth, any combination thereof, require pressure canning, because the dangerous organism we are worried about is Clostridium botulinum, botulism, and it thrives in low acid environments without oxygen. A sealed jar of chicken in a dark pantry is exactly the kind of environment it loves. Boiling water does not reach hot enough to kill C. botulinum spores. Pressure canning does. That is why we use a pressure canner, and that is why we process at specific temperatures for specific lengths of time. This is not negotiable. You do not water bath chicken. You do not half-ass the timing. You do not decide that 15 minutes sounds close enough. You follow the method, every time, because botulism is not a stomach ache. It is a paralyzing, often fatal nerve toxin, and it is entirely preventable with correct pressure canning technique. My grandmother understood this. She did not have Google. She did not have YouTube. She had a USDA canning guide from 1937 and her mother's instructions, and she followed them exactly. And 28 years later, that chicken did not kill anyone. That is the standard I am holding us to today. Let's talk equipment. you need a pressure canner, not a pressure cooker, though many modern pressure cookers can also be used as canners, and I will get into that. But for this video, I am talking about a dedicated pressure canner, which is a large, heavy pot with a locking lid, a pressure gauge or weight valve, and an internal rack. The most common brands are Presto and All-American. A 16-quart canner will hold 7-quart jars or 21 pint jars, which is plenty for a batch. Do not try to can with a pot that was not designed for it. I know some of you have seen old videos of people doing this on a regular stovetop with a weighted lid. Technically possible with the right setup, but the risk of an improper seal or an incorrect pressure reading is not something I want any of you taking. Get the right equipment. It is not expensive. A basic pressure canner runs between $80 and $130, and it will last you the rest of your life if you maintain it. You also need mason jars, the standard for home canning. Ball and Bernardine are the names most people know. Make sure they are designed for pressure canning. Regular mouth mason jars can crack under pressure if you are not careful. The wide mouth pint and quart jars are what I use most. You need new lids every time. The flat lid with the rubber gasket, you do not reuse those. The screw band holds the lid in place during processing, and you can reuse the bands. But the lid itself, the sealing compound, that is single use. This is not a place to save money. $1.50 for a lid is nothing compared to $1.50 for a hospital visit. Now, chicken. My grandmother used what she had, which was whatever bird she had culled from the flock that day. She was not buying boneless, skinless breasts from the store. She was processing a whole hen or a rooster, and she used everything. The breast, the thighs, the wings, the carcass went into stock. Nothing was wasted. For your canning, you want fresh chicken. Whole birds work best because you can break them down yourself, but you can also buy pieces. If you buy from the store, get bone-in, skin-on pieces. The bone helps the meat hold its texture during processing, and the skin adds a small amount of fat that helps with moisture retention. Boneless, skinless will work, but it tends to get mealy and dry in the jar. If that is what you have, use it, but know that whole bird or bone-in pieces give you a better result. Remove the skin from the pieces if you are watching your fat intake. It will come off easily after cooking or even raw. But for pure canning purposes, skin on is fine. You will be processing at high heat regardless, and the fat will render into the liquid in the jar, which actually improves the flavor of the finished product. My grandmother's method was simple. She would clean the chicken, cut it into serving pieces, and either cook it first or raw pack it. There are two methods, and I'm going to walk you through both because you should know both. Raw packing is when you put raw chicken directly into the jar and process it. The heat from the pressure canner cooks it inside the jar. My grandmother did this because it was faster, and she did not want to waste firewood on pre-cooking. Raw packed chicken will have more texture, more integrity. The pieces stay together better. The liquid in the jar is minimal because the chicken releases its own juices during processing. This is what she used for her long-term storage. Hot packing is when you cook the chicken first and then pack it into jars. This reduces the processing time because the food is already hot, and it helps the chicken pack more densely into the jar because it is already soft. The liquid in the jar is greater because you are adding cooking liquid or broth. Many modern canners prefer hot packing because it reduces the risk of jars breaking from thermal shock, and because the meat shrinks during pre-cooking, allowing for a better seal. For 1943, my grandmother was raw packing. That is the method I am showing you today, because that is what I inherited, and because raw packed chicken processed correctly can last decades. The key is the pressure and the time, not the cooking method beforehand. Here is the step-by-step. Step 4. Wipe the rim. Use a clean, damp cloth or a paper towel dipped in white vinegar. The rim of the jar must be completely clean and dry before you put the lid on. Any grease, any food particle, any moisture on that rim will compromise the seal. And I cannot stress this enough. A compromised seal means a failed can. Wipe it twice if you have to. Step 5. Put the lid on. Place the flat lid with the rubber gasket on the jar. Screw the metal band on until it is finger tight. Do not use a jar wrench to tighten it. You are not trying to crush the lid. You are trying to hold it in place while the canner builds pressure. Finger tight is enough. Step 6. Load the canner. Put the rack in the bottom of the pressure canner. Add 2 to 3 cups of water. Check your canner's manual, but 2 to 3 cups is standard. Lower the jars into the canner carefully. You can use a jar lifter for this. Set them on the rack with space between each one. Do not stack them on top of each other. If you have a small canner and you can only fit 4-quart jars, do 4. Do not overload. Step 7. Seal the canner. Put the lid on and lock it according to the manufacturer's instructions. Turn the heat to high. Bring the canner to a boil and then you will see steam coming out of the vent. Let it vent for 10 full minutes. This is called the exhausting stage, and it is critical. You must vent all the air from the canner before you apply pressure. If you seal the canner with air inside, the temperature inside will not be accurate, and your processing time will be wrong. 10 minutes of steady venting. Do not skip this. My grandmother used a kitchen timer. So do I. Step 8. Apply pressure. After 10 minutes of venting, put the weight on the vent or close the petcock, depending on your canner's design. Bring the pressure to 10 psi for sea level. If you live above 1,000 feet elevation, you need to adjust. Check the USDA altitude charts, because the required pressure is higher at elevation. At my house in Kentucky, 10 psi is correct for most processing. At altitude, you may need 11 or 12 psi. This matters because the temperature corresponding to 10 psi at sea level is different than at altitude, and if you do not adjust, you are not processing at the right temperature. Step 9. Process. Once you reach 10 psi, start your timer. For raw packed chicken in quart jars, the USDA processing time is 90 minutes at 10 psi. For pint jars, 75 minutes. My grandmother processed for 90 minutes because she was raw packing and because she wanted that extended shelf life. If you hot pack, the time drops to 75 minutes for quarts. But I want you to understand, my grandmother was doing 90 minutes in 1943, and that chicken lasted 28 years. That is the target. During processing, your pressure must stay constant. If it drops below 10 psi, you have to start your timer over from 0. This is why you do not walk away entirely. You check the gauge every 15 minutes or so to make sure the pressure is steady. A sudden drop in pressure means the temperature dropped, and that means your processing is not reliable. Some modern canners have a jiggler weight that lets you know by sound if pressure is correct. Mine makes a gentle rock and hiss. When it goes silent, the pressure is dropped and I have to start the timer. Step 10. Finish and cool. When the timer goes off, turn off the heat. Do not touch the weight. Do not open the canner. Let it depressurize naturally. This takes 20 to 30 minutes. Do not rush this. If you open the canner while it is still pressurized, the rapid change in temperature can cause the jars to crack or the contents to boil over violently. Leave it alone. Let it cool. When the pressure is fully released, the petcock or the weight will show it. Open the canner carefully, tilting the lid away from you so the steam goes the other direction. Remove the jars using your jar lifter and set them on a folded towel on the counter. Do not set them on a cold surface. Do not stack them. Let them cool for 12 hours. Do not touch them. Do not jiggle them. Do not check the seals by pressing on the lids. 12 hours. Let them sit. After 12 hours, check the seals. The lid should be curved slightly downward, not popped up. Press the center of the lid. It should not flex. If it flexes, that jar did not seal. Use that chicken within 3 days and eat it fresh. Do not try to reprocess it because it has already been heated and cooled once. The safe thing is to eat it within a few days. Sealed jars can be stored on a shelf in the pantry. They do not need to be refrigerated until you open them. That is the miracle of proper canning. The seal is doing the work. As long as the seal is intact, the chicken is safe. Keep your pantry cool, dark, and dry. Temperatures between 50 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit are ideal. Do not store jars where they freeze because the expansion of the contents can compromise the seal. Do not store them where they get above 80 degrees because the quality will degrade faster. Under proper conditions, properly sealed canned chicken is good for at least 1 to 2 years. The USDA says 1 year for best quality, but my grandmother's jar says 28. The key variables are the initial quality of the chicken, the accuracy of your processing, the integrity of the seal, and the storage conditions. Get all 4 right and you will be fine. Now let me talk about what makes this different from modern canning, because I know some of you have seen the Guanto chicken at the store and wondered why it tastes the way it does. Store-bought canned chicken is processed at temperatures above 250 degrees for longer times to ensure commercial sterility. It is fine from a safety standpoint, but the high heat degrades the protein texture, and the result is that mealy, mushy, metallic-tasting chicken that bears almost no resemblance to what you can produce at home. Home pressure canned chicken is processed at 240 degrees, which is the temperature at 10 psi. This is lower than commercial canning, and it results in a better textured, better flavored product. The processing time is shorter because we are targeting a safe product for home storage rather than a sterile product for commercial distribution. The difference in quality is significant. When you open a home canned jar of chicken, it looks and smells like chicken. It does not look like something that was autoclaved at a factory. The other difference is what is in the jar. Store-bought canned chicken often contains added salt, broth, or broth substitutes, and sometimes sodium phosphates to help with texture retention. When you can at home, you know exactly what is in the jar. Just chicken. Just salt if you chose to add it, nothing else. One question I get a lot is which cuts work best. My answer is the dark meat cuts. Thighs and drumsticks have more connective tissue and fat, which means they hold up better during the long processing time, and they have more flavor in the finished jar. Breasts are fine, and I can them too, but they tend to be drier and more mealy in the jar than thighs. If you are buying specifically for canning, buy a mix. Save the breasts for roasting. Use the thighs and drumsticks for canning. You will get better results. Cost savings. Let me give you some numbers. A whole chicken from a local farm, 4 to 5 pounds, costs between $8 and $12. That bird yields roughly 2 to 2.5 pounds of usable meat after you remove the bones, skin, and waste. If you process it into canned chicken, you will fill 4 to 5 pint jars. Each pint jar holds about a pound of boneless meat. Store-bought canned chicken in a grocery store runs $4 to $6 per pint, and the quality is lower. So you are paying $4 to $6 for something you made for about $2, and you have a pantry full of it. If you process a case of 12 whole chickens, which is what I do twice a year, you spend roughly $120 and you get 60 pints of canned chicken. 60 pints. At store prices, that is between $240 and $360 worth of product. You invested $120 and about 3 hours of work. That is the math. That is why people did this in 1943, and that is why I still do it in 2026. Let me address the safety question directly one more time, because if I leave anything unclear, I have not done my job. Botulism from improperly canned chicken is real. It kills people. It is entirely preventable. The rules are simple. Use a pressure canner. Process at 10 psi for the correct time. Do not water bath chicken. Do not process for less than the required time. Vent the canner for 10 minutes. Check your seals. If a jar does not seal, eat the contents within 3 days or discard. These rules are not negotiable. Follow them every single time and you will never have a problem. I have been doing this for 30 years and I have never had a problem. My grandmother did it for 50 years and she never had a problem. It works if you follow the method. One more thing on safety. If you open a jar and it smells wrong, sour, putrid, anything that is not normal chicken smell, do not taste it. Do not even sniff it deeply because botulism toxin can be absorbed through the mucous membranes in your nose. Throw the jar away. Boil it for 30 minutes before you dispose of it, or bury it to prevent animals from getting into it. This is not drama. This is how you handle a potential botulism situation safely. Now, how do I use this today? I pull a jar when I need quick protein. Chicken salad, chicken and dumplings, shredded into a soup, pulled apart for sandwiches. The chicken is already cooked by the time you open the jar. You do not have to brown it. You do not have to roast it. You just open it and it is ready. On a weeknight when everyone is hungry and you have 20 minutes, having canned chicken in the pantry changes everything. I also use the liquid in the jar, that broth that accumulated during processing, for soups, for cooking rice, for gravy. Nothing wasted. If you have a pressure canner and you have never used it for meat, today is the day. Start small. 1 batch, 4 jars. By the time you are done, you will understand exactly how this works, and you will see why your grandmother did it and why she kept doing it for decades. Because it is practical, because it is cheap, because it works. If this video was useful to you, subscribe. And if you know someone who is trying to stretch their grocery budget or get control of their food costs, send this video to them. That is how we take care of each other. Sharing knowledge is how we take care of each other. Leave a comment. Tell me if you have tried pressure canning or what you want to try. I read every single one. I answer as many as I can, and I will see you in the next video.